This is the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show, a weekly broadcast that breaks down each Eagles game better than anyone else. The Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show is broadcasting live from the Great American Pub in Conshohocken and is heard on both 1490 WBCB and 107.3 FM, and is brought to you by the Great American Pub, Independence Blue Cross, Penn Community Bank, Fogo de Show, and Hand and Stone Spa. We now go live to the Great American Pub in Conshohocken for the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show. Now, here are your hosts, Paul Domowitch and Paul Jolovitz.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show from the beautiful Great American Pub in Conshohocken, Pennsylvania. I'm Paul Jolovitz, Paul Domowitch, my co-host. We are available right here on 1490 WBCB, 107.3 FM. We are recapping the Eagles' blowout win over the New Orleans Saints, the Juggernaut Saints, 15-12 yesterday. I say that with tongue buried deeply in cheek. We'll talk about it for the next hour. Go around the NFL with Paul Domowitch and our surprise guest. First, Domo, how you doing?
Doing well. How about you, Joey?
I'm doing great because we got away with one. It's good to get away with. Maybe they should have won last week, maybe not. They should have lost yesterday. They didn't, although they dominated a lot of the game. A lot of things went wrong. Blocked punts, turnovers. Jalen Hurts got it done. Saquon Barkley got it done. A couple other guys got it done, and a W is a W, right?
I'm not sure I agree with you that they should have lost. I mean, they squandered opportunities,
Okay.
including some bad decisions by the coach.
Just a couple.
That took points off the board. But, I mean, the defense just outplayed Derek Carr in the offense. It was closer than it should have been, actually.
All right, we love our guest tonight. We had him last year. We invited him back. He was so good. He wrote the book, Decisions for a Coach, based on analytics and games in New Orleans. So he's uniquely qualified to talk about this and the decisions Nick made. Former Eagle, drafted out of Syracuse not drafted out of Syracuse in 1983, made the NFL, had a nice career. We welcome Gerry Feehery. Thanks for being here, Gerry.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks, Paul.
Good to have you, Jerry.
It's great to be here.
Gerry, first thing, we're not going to talk about the global picture first. I have a specific question first for you. Eagles offensive line coach is Jeff Stoutland. Now, an offensive line coach has a couple tasks, I guess. Recognize talent, number one, and then when you get talent, coach it the right way. Yesterday, the Eagles, you played center and guard. The Eagles lost the right side of their line with Becton and obviously Lane Johnson with a concussion. Fred Johnson came in, whose mom probably doesn't know who he is, and Tyler Steen, and they didn't really miss a beat with Barkley. How hard is that to do, and how impressed were you with Coach Stoutland, if you are?
Well, I'm very familiar with Jeff's work, so I wasn't that surprised at all because I know how hard he works with those guys, and they all sing his praise. And I've been following him since he was at Alabama and producing great offensive lines there. And when the Eagles got him, I was ecstatic. But yesterday, those guys came in; they didn't miss a beat. Matter of fact, you're not going to replace Lane Johnson, but Steen might have won himself a starting job with as well as he played. And, so they were prepared. They came in there and they did a great job. I mean, that quarterback, shouldn't worry about a Stoutland substitute because they're going to come in and do a good job for you. You're not going to have mistakes. Very few as far as mental errors or penalties. You may get beat physically once in a while, but for the most part, they're going to fit in and do the job that they're expected to.
Domo, again, that played into the Eagles' offense. I mean, some strange play calling, some stranger decisions, but they got the job done. I think sometimes with Saquon in this case, I think sometimes teams are successful at something, and then they want to get tricky and show you how many weapons they have, how many things they can do, and lose their identity. I think the Eagles did that last week. Luckily, they found Saquon. Obviously, Goddard had a great game. We'll talk about everybody else as well. But Saquon, as Saquon rolls, so roll the Eagles, especially with everybody out now. Is that not true?
Yeah, he had an excellent game. When you can't stop him, it prevents their defensive line and their linebackers from teeing off on Jalen. And he's just, a lot of times he got big yardage out of plays that I didn't think he had anything there. I'm not denigrating the blocking. It was very good.
But that's when you got a good back who makes something out of nothing.
Yeah. And that's Saquon. He's got to be the happiest guy in the world to see to be playing behind this offensive line after what he's experienced the last 4 or 5 years of his career.
Gerry, you played guard and center in this league. You didn't play right tackle, which would put you on this guy, but the NFL seems to have found a way to block Bryce Huff, and that's to show up and have a person opposite him that is alive and breathing. What's going on with that, by the way?
I really don't. I really don't know. I looked at his stats, and he had one good year with the Jets. But that was, to me, that was the only thing he had in his resume, really. And
situational.
Yeah, and as far as him coming in and being a big stud like that, he just hasn't showed anything. He's not a big guy. And obviously he's not that fast either because he's not able to get around the corner. But hopefully it'll devise something. But my thoughts on their defensive line, they're loaded at tackle. I want to see Carter moved out to defensive end on pass rushing situations. You bring in.
Is he quick enough?
Yeah, he's quick enough. Yeah, he is. He's Reggie White quick, and Reggie played out there.
Pretty high praise, Reggie White quick.
Well, you watch him, how he loses a blocker and eludes him, and the more chances you give him to do that, the more you're going to start seeing that type of player. But I really believe that, and they have, they got Davis in there, and they got Williams, and now they have Booker. So, they have depth at tackle. So, keep on rotating him in and keep him in the inside rotation too. But, occasionally I want to see him on the outside and see how he does, where he just has man-to-man blocking instead of getting double-teamed.
Yeah. He played 50 of 56 snaps yesterday, 92% of their defensive snaps. That's unheard of. I know you're playing in a dome at 72 degrees, so that helps.
But Tom, the average fan has no idea how many snaps a tackle plays and end plays. You've been around
most of them will play. The good ones will play, with the exception of the guy from the Raiders whose name escapes me, who
Crosby.
Yeah, he plays nearly 100 every week, but that's unusual. Usually, it's if you play 70, it's a lot, 70%.
Well. And that's the thing. I'm so happy to hear that number because for years, the guys have been comparing this player to this player and saying, oh, they're as great as Reggie or that.
Yeah.
But, the guys of this era play 50% of the snaps.
Yeah.
Those guys played 100%
Jimmy Johnson started that with the Cowboys in the 90s, and it worked. And if you have 8 or 9 guys, Milton Williams, terrific. Brandon Graham found the fountain of youth.
Yeah.
Thank God, because Nolan Smith hadn't done anything. Josh Sweat, a couple plays. There's so much to talk about in this game, guys. Dallas got it.
I just wanted to say one more thing about Carter. The one thing I want to see here, and he played spectacularly Sunday.
Yep.
A lot of it, he was benched the week before for the first series because of some things that off the field. He was trashed pretty good in the media, and that motivated him. This is still an immature guy. And I
saw it at the end of the game, by the way.
Yeah, I want to see him do this week in and week out. I want to see him grow into a man, and mentally and physically, and be a guy they can count on every week. Vic Fangio is not going to baby him, thankfully.
No.
He's going to sit him down if he can, if he misbehaves. But this kid's got to grow up and do this every week.
Gerry, when you were playing, it's interesting because athletes sometimes are kindred spirits, even if somebody's on the other team. Did you ever play a young player, pedigreed, first-round pick, whatever, that you thought was a fantastic player but had a bad attitude or bad this or bad that? Did you ever talk to him after a game about something like that?
Well, every day. Jerome Brown was drafted when I was there, and the first practice we had a Donnybrook fist fight. Went after each other, and Jerome was getting in trouble all the time, and eventually we came to respect each other, and to the point where I would tell him, say, you got great talent, great abilities, but you're going to be out of the league if you keep on some of the hijinks that you're doing. I told him he got to take care of his body better, and he did not like to lift weights or any of that stuff. So, but he did, and I saw his maturity process, and unfortunately, he got cut short. But he was a great example there.
All right, guys. Yesterday, obviously, the block punt, which came not right away, but the turnover, the interception, the end zone, 4th pick. Jalen carrying the ball like a loaf of grapes, got hit from behind. Everything went wrong in the first half. Eagles didn't hit the scoreboard. Now there's 15 seconds, whatever it was, in the first half. Nick Sirianni goes against analytics, overrules. He talked about in his presser today that he has certain calls. To me, it was confusing as hell as to who has what play calls when. Don't ask me about this or that or the other. Made a ridiculous decision to bypass the 3 points, and it could have cost him. It didn't. Donald, that was one of the worst decisions. It's a terrible play call, but the decision, and I'm a riverboat gambler, was just insane. Do you agree?
Last week, Jolly, you were irate over the 3rd and 3 pass to Saquon, and then his decision to kick right after that.
I think he's made almost everything wrong. Yep.
I defended him then. I still think both of those moves were fine.
Okay.
Yesterday, I don't know what he was thinking. I mean, he cost them 6 points with where he should have taken 2 field goals.
Yep.
And then he contributed to 7 of New Orleans' points when he put his defense in bad shape at the end when he decided to kick a 60-yard field goal which ended up giving the Saints the ball on the 50-yard line.
Now, it's interesting. I would have kicked that 60-yard field goal. I would have taken a shot in the dome with Elliott. I could see the other side completely.
Yeah. I mean, he has the leg to make it, but...
Yep.
He just hasn't had any shots this year. He never gets on the field.
And you gotta in every decision you make, you gotta weigh the good and the bad. The good is you get 3 points,
Risk
and
and
that's
reward.
fine. The bad is you're putting a team at the 50-yard line that has its after this defense has done a spectacular job all day. Why do this to them?
Jerry, were you looking at Sirianni thinking, is this guy wearing a mask at some point yesterday?
Well, my go-to always is if you have your first possession, you have a chance to get points on the board, you put points on the board. If you want to, get situations after that, then and deal with them, and play with them a little bit, fine. Get your points on the board, get some confidence going, and go from there. But I didn't know if the kicker owed Sirianni money or something. He's not able to get on the field anymore.
I thought he had been kidnapped.
Could have been.
The one that the first time he went for it on 4th and 1 with 14 seconds left in the half. Not only do you question the call there, because even if he makes it, you're going to get one more play.
Of course.
But there was a timeout at that point, and you're watching on the camera, on the TV. He's talking. He and Hurts are talking forever. You knew it wasn't just going to be a tush push. You knew they were going to tweak it because when they run a tush push, it's just go out there and run it.
Yep.
And true enough, they give it to Barkley on that play, and I'm sure that defense was looking for something like that.
So much to talk about this game. The Saints come in so high-powered, 2-0. The Eagles coming off a loss, and you look for the Amelia Earharts, as I call it, the missing in action people. A couple of them came out yesterday. Zach Baum had a terrific game. Vaughn had a terrific game. But on the offensive side of the ball, a lot of people were wondering about Dallas, not the Cowboys, and Jerry Jones bitter beer face yesterday, but Dallas Goedert, 10 catches, 170 yards, big 61-yarder. A lot of people are saying he should be the Eagles' second option when all their receivers are healthy. I don't agree with that necessarily, but he's a hell of a weapon, isn't he?
Well, he made some great catches too, and he had some luck there on that big gainer when all the defenders ran into each other.
Yeah.
And luckily, and I'm glad Jason saw him. But I think he should be. I don't know if you go with 1, 2, and 3. Who's your favorite? I think you go through your progression and you throw the ball to the open person. You look at your number one guy that's designated into play. You go to him and go to if he's not there, then you look down. I don't think Jalen's doing a good enough job with that. Yeah. The number one guy I think has been open numerous times. and he's not getting rid of the ball quick enough, and thus scrambling around and then making plays. But having a tight end like Goddard, though, I mean, it's I mean, you go back to look at Zach. I mean, a guy like Zach, was it Zach Ertz?
Zach Ertz,
yeah. I mean,
Brent Selleck.
What great receivers they were. I mean, get them the ball and let them be your comfort guy.
What Jerry's basically saying, Dom, was you got a weapon, use it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about Goddard, when you look at the last few years, even when he's caught 55 passes, a lot of them have not been, I mean, I measure a lot about a receiver by how many, what he does on third down. Yeah,
okay.
On third down and yak. Now, Dallas has been a good yak guy because Jalen gets the ball to him in stride. But yesterday he had 3 first downs on third down. 3rd and 8, he gets he catches one for 22 yards. And again, there was yak on that one. It wasn't 3rd and 5. He has a 30-yard running catch, and then the big 61-yarder on 3rd and 16. I mean, those are big plays. I agree with Jerry. Jalen's decision-making has been spotty at times. Not at times this year. First 3 games, a lot. And he needs to look at see the field better. He needs to go to his second and third receivers quicker. Because when you look at the all 22 tape, you see people open that he's not seeing, and he's had a lot of time back there. It's not been a matter of where he's been under pressure and can't find these guys.
All right, we'll talk about a lot of these guys. We'll talk about Jalen. We'll talk about the injuries. We'll talk about how the Eagles came out of this 2-1. Looks like the bye week is well timed now. A little too early, but all these injuries. We'll see about Tampa next week, obviously avenging the playoff loss, and then Cleveland the rest of the season. Who'll play, who won't. Paul Domowitch, my co-host. Gerry Feehery is our guest. This is the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff from the Great American Pub in Conshohocken. Thanks for coming, everybody, and we're back right after this.
Since 1991, the Great American Pub in Conshohocken has been offering an authentic and memorable experience for guests looking to dine in or enjoy the bar and nightlife. Located at 123 Fayette Street in Conshohocken, the Great American Pub has all your craft beer selections and some of the best food options anywhere. While you're there trying their buffalo chicken spring rolls or Maryland crab cakes, enjoy your favorite sporting events on their numerous televisions surrounding the bar. Visit them at 123 Fayette Street in Conshohocken or learn more online at thegreatamericanpub.com.
At Independence Blue Cross, we take care of the people who take care of you. Everyday heroes like firefighters, police officers, teachers, farmers, and healthcare workers. Doctors and hospitals across the region have IBX, and they know what it means to have reliable access to care. So whether you're saving lives or just trying to live a healthier life, count on IBX, the region's #1 health insurer for 85 years. Learn more at IBX.com.
A truly unique dining experience awaits you at Fogo de Chão. Fogo de Chão awes patrons with their history and tradition of authentic Brazilian steakhouse, offering many cuts of decadent fire-roasted meats prepared over an open fire and served tableside by trained gaucho chefs. Fogo de Chão, 1337 Chestnut Street in Center City, Philadelphia. For reservations, go to www.fogo.com or call 215-636-9700.
We now return to the Great American Pub in Conshohocken for the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show. Once again, here are your hosts, Paul Domowitch and Paul Jolovitz.
Alrighty, welcome back to the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show, live from the Great American Pub in Conshohocken. The food is great. The atmosphere is great. Come on down. We're here every Monday night at 6 o'clock. Don't forget you can watch the show live at WBCBSports.com and YouTube live by searching WBCB Sports. Chuck and Jerry and Guy make it fun here. We'd love to have you, and we have a nice crowd tonight with Gerry Feehery, my co-host Paul Domowitch. Guys, injuries are a big part of the NFL. They always will be. When buys are, when certain teams, obviously it doesn't fit sometimes. Jerry, you had some concussions in your career. Yesterday we had a couple more with the Eagles. Lane Johnson, didn't know quite how he got his, but he was thrown up on the sideline. Devontae, whether it was a dirty hit or not, the whistle should have blown. I blame the refs on that play. He's probably not going to play next week. You got Mekhi Becton with a finger, Britton Covey with a broken bone in his shoulder out 6 weeks. You were on teams that obviously were loaded with injuries. What does the team do? I mean, you have no choice but to keep going, right?
Yeah, definitely. The training staff works double time, to work with those guys that they can. I mean, the concussions obviously are taken care of by preset rules, that have to be adhered to. Back in the day, there were no such preset rules.
You got a concussion or your bell rung. Did the coach just say you ready to go? Did anybody even take a look? Because no neurologist or anything like that, right?
No. I mean, it was, what day is it? How many fingers do I have up? And, here's an ammonia capsule.
Wow.
And sometimes it wasn't even that much, but there was no tent or no taking you out of the game unless I guess if you were totally out of it, then they would pull you out. But they tried to get as much out of you as they could back then.
Now, Domo, you can be pulled out by the neurologist, so it has nothing to do with your team. Obviously, Devontae wasn't going to play. Lane wasn't. Bye week in 2 weeks, kind of put it all in the hamper. And what does it mean for the Eagles? They could be without their top two receivers. Lane Johnson, obviously a huge part of this offense.
You said, going back just a second, you said get pulled out by the neurologist.
Yep.
They have a spotter. They have a trainer, a certified trainer up in the press box who's looking at replays.
That's what I mean, not the neurologist.
Yeah, I mean, he's looking for guys that with kind of suspicious hits and stuff. But getting back to the point about that missing, they're probably going to be missing A.J. Brown, who I'm assuming they'll wait until after the bye to bring him back so that he's completely healthy from the hamstring. But I'd be surprised if watching that hit at Devontae, that's going to be probably he's not going to be cleared right away.
Can a ref get in trouble for that, Domo? Because that whistle, his forward progress was clearly stopped. I'm not sure the defensive lineman needed to do what he did, but he's playing to the whistle.
He'll be judged, by the supervisor officials. John Runyon, who basically handles finding these guys. I mean, there are probably more, maybe 70% guys that are fined, even though there's no flag ever thrown on the field. That one for sure. I mean, I guarantee you, I'd stake my reputation, what's left of it, on the fact that John's going to levy a huge fine on that guy for that hit on Devontae.
Well, he may, but I agree. Well, I can't say I agree with Paul because, but the ref should have called, blown the whistle, and
absolutely.
That bothers me to no end that they want to proclaim a safer game.
Yeah, and then
but you see these piles, constantly where they're letting the play. I mean, it seems like the play may go 10 yards down the field, and you can't even see the running back. I mean, he's probably, not even – he probably doesn't even have his feet on the ground at that point. But they don't blow the play down. Yeah. If I'm a defensive guy, I'll come in, come blow up the pile. I mean, that's and I don't think that guy was, intentionally trying to come in there and hurt somebody. But, you're taught, play to the whistle.
Yep.
And that's what you do.
And that the whole whistle thing, I think something will come of that. I'm sure the ref will hear about it, or whatever referee, linesman, back judge, umpire is responsible on that play. Then you go to the other side of the ball, Paul Domowitch. Although I'm not going to call myself Paul. I might. Nigeria's got me all confused about myself. There we are. Johnson's going to play right tackle for the Eagles this week, but it's probably not going to be Lane. It's going to be Fred. How much does that hurt this team? And you hear a lot about Lane Johnson maybe being the Eagles' offensive MVP. Not sure I quite agree with that, but he's very, very valuable. How much does that hurt?
Well, I mean, he's not Lane Johnson, but he played very well on Sunday. After taking not very many snaps during the week. I liked the way he played. Fred Johnson was a guy that I liked that. I felt them keeping him as a backup was a good move. We talked about Stoutland earlier. I mean, Stoutland's going to have whoever is out there ready to play. So I don't have a lot of concerns about the job Fred Johnson will do against Tampa. But he isn't Lane. I mean, there's no, Lane's going to be a Hall of Famer at some point when he retires and is eligible. So, but Fred Johnson is, in this game, having depth at your offensive line is crucial because you're going to get people hurt. And you got to have people that are going to go out there and play like Fred and Tyler Steen did on Sunday.
All right, there are positions. You need depth everywhere. You're not going to have it everywhere. Reed Blankenship, of course, at safety, made the big play yesterday. CJ, who I'm not the biggest fan of in what he says, he played pretty well yesterday. But there's always a guy, and we can talk about Reed and CJ a lot, and Quinton Mitchell was a tremendous young cornerback. I call it the Roger Daltrey player on every team. Anybody who knows anything about rock music knows who Roger Daltrey is the leading singer for. And every team's got a guy like that who you look after a couple games and go, who? How about Zach Bond, Jerry? Where the hell did he come from?
Man, the guy was the MVP yesterday. He was all over the field.
He was in week 1, too.
Yep.
And, yeah, he tackles hard.
Yeah.
You know, he still plays the game. When he tackles, he brings them down.
Yep.
I mean, it's not like he just throws his shoulder in there and then waits for, the guy bounces off and then
missile shot.
Somebody else has to come in. You know, he plays the game, the way it's supposed to be played, and he's done a great job. And I guess he was discarded from New Orleans, so maybe he was having an extra game, game of his life for that.
What's amazing is that nobody saw him. New Orleans never saw him as an off-ball linebacker. I mean, they used him as an edge rusher in situations. To the Eagles' credit, I mean, they clearly may have blown it on Bryce Huff. But how he got this guy right, he's turned into a terrific – I mean, he's a key difference maker for Vic. And Vic deserves credit for what happened yesterday. I mean, he adjusted that scheme, played a lot of 5-man fronts, even 6 occasionally, moved those 2 linebackers.
To stop Kamara in the run.
Yeah, I mean, they moved both those linebackers up closer to the line. They did a terrific job of because when I looked at that game going in, I'm thinking there's no way a team that just got blown out against the run for the first 2 weeks is going to be able to stop Alvin Kamara. And boy, did they do a good job on him.
It's interesting in the NFL, guys, that, 2 weeks, you can look great, you can look terrible, you can play against type. We're figuring out after 3 weeks maybe the Pittsburgh is pretty good. Not that we didn't know that Tomlin was a great coach already, but Jerry, with a team, New Orleans wasn't a Goliath coming into yesterday's game. They played real well first 2 weeks. When do you start to get an idea of who you are, who the opponent is? Obviously, they could be that. Sometimes you have a greatest show on turf out of nowhere with Kurt Warner, but how much can the first couple weeks of an NFL season fool you? Either the Eagles, the opponent, or anything in between?
Well, I look at it like this. The season, actually starts this week because none of these guys played in the preseason
this is the preseason
game.
Yep.
Yeah.
So they never had any real-life snaps. So they, the first 3 games is what their preseason is. I mean, they've been getting – you can't – if you don't play, your body doesn't get in shape.
Right.
I mean, your body, when you play the game of football, you get hit and you get hit and hit. Your body gets attuned to that.
Calloused,
exactly to that. And and if you're not playing in the preseason games like that, it doesn't get it. It takes time. And it takes time, for all the other stuff to come in, the offense, the defense, special teams. The Steens and the Johnsons, they might have played well because they got all those
snaps
reps,
and,
and any of the backups that are getting in there, got their chances. But, some of the guys that are starters, may be pulling hamstrings or whatever because they weren't going 100%, during the camp.
Well, sometimes it's who you do talk about that is the centerpiece of the conversation. Damo, sometimes it's who you don't. They say an umpire did a good job if you don't talk about him. Usually offensive linemen, although Jason Kelsey got a lot of pub for obvious reasons. But we're not talking much about Cam Jurgens. To me, that tells us how well he's playing, right?
Yeah. I haven't seen what somebody like Pro Football Focus has graded him. It's been very respectable. He's played solid. He's stepped in, and you're right. You're not hearing anybody say anything about mistakes he's made. I mean,
A
he's
few
been,
wobbly snaps
Yeah,
there, but
yeah.
But Jason did that once in a while too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But his
I
block
think
has been
Jason
solid.
did it on purpose, just to piss the quarterback off once in a while.
It's helped that Cam has not had the burden of handling the protection calls.
Right.
Jason handled that, took that off of Jalen Hurts. Jalen's handling it now, and I think it's part of the adjustment he's going through right now because he's got more on his plate.
Yeah, we got a lot on our plate here on the Monday Night Kickoff. Gerry
nice
Feehery,
segue.
when Gerry came in tonight, he said, Jason Kelsey retired. Where the hell is he right now? What's he doing? I can't find him anywhere. Is there commercial, guys? He's not on? God bless him. Get while the getting's good, right?
He's at Buffalo Wild Wings with
Oh,
him.
He
my
might as well be.
gosh,
If he's not here, if he's not there. ESPN tonight, 2 Monday night games. Strange, week 3, whatever. No, nothing West Coast. We'll be back, talk about the Monday night games, talk about the Eagles' next game against Tampa Bay, a game that looks like they could open up the division in. Dallas lost yesterday. We'll talk about that, too, on the Monday Night Kickoff, presented by Independence Blue Cross from the Great American Pub in Conshohocken. Come on down, say hi to Gerry Feehery. We're back after this. Stay with us.
Since 1991, the Great American Pub in Conshohocken has been offering an authentic and memorable experience for guests looking to dine in or enjoy the bar and nightlife. Located at 123 Fayette Street in Conshohocken, the Great American Pub has all your craft beer selections and some of the best food options anywhere. While you're there trying their buffalo chicken spring rolls or Maryland crab cakes, enjoy your favorite sporting events on their numerous televisions surrounding the bar. Visit them at 123 Fayette Street in Conshohocken or learn more online at thegreatamericanpub.com.
At Independence Blue Cross, we take care of the people who take care of you. Everyday heroes like firefighters, police officers, teachers, farmers, and healthcare workers. Doctors and hospitals across the region have IBX, and they know what it means to have reliable access to care. So whether you're saving lives or just trying to live a healthier life, count on IBX, the region's #1 health insurer for 85 years. Learn more at IBX.com.
A truly unique dining experience awaits you at Fogo de Chão. Fogo de Chão awes patrons with their history and tradition of authentic Brazilian steakhouse, offering many cuts of decadent fire-roasted meats prepared over an open fire and served tableside by trained gaucho chefs. Fogo de Chão, 1337 Chestnut Street in Center City, Philadelphia. For reservations, go to www.fogo.com or call 215-636-9700.
We now return to the Great American Pub in Conshohocken for the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show. Once again, here are your hosts, Paul Domowitch and Paul Jolovitz.
All righty, welcome back to the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff. People saying hi to our guest, Gerry Feehery, with the Great American Pub in Conshohocken. Next week, Von Hebron will be our guest, playing Tampa Bay. Coach Nick Sirianni and his team will go down to Tampa trying to avenge the playoff loss. Domo, Gerry, Nick's been under fire, had a strange presser today. Obviously, they're 2-1. His record's good. We know about the offseason. We know about Kellen and Vic and their situation. Nick's trying to explain the process, which to me was not very clear. Gerry, do you have any idea what's going on the sidelines? Who does what? Who controls what?
I was wondering that yesterday when I saw, a play that I thought, Kellen Moore would have been more involved in, and it seemed like Sirianni was dictating the whole thing about what the play call was going to be. And I thought those two were communicating, and I would imagine, I would have thought that, Moore would be the guy that was making the play calls, but maybe not. I thought that was their mission, was to bring in 2 coordinators and just have Sirianni as, the boss of those 2.
Yeah.
And I don't know if his ego is going to allow that.
That's an interesting question about the ego, isn't it, Tomo?
Yeah, well, a lot of times you have situations where, it's not unusual to have a CEO coach. But the question here is this a CEO coach or a guy that they just kind of demoted without firing him?
Yeah, Harbaugh is a CEO coach.
Right.
Nick doesn't have the gravitas of him.
And Parcells. And, you can go down the line. Dick Vermeil, who wasn't a CEO coach initially, When he got to St. Louis, he realized that in this day and age, there's just too much to do. So I do wonder whether Nick is like overly sensitive to the fact that people perceive him as a guy who's doing nothing right now, and that is making him be tempted to, when things aren't going quite well with the offense, to butt in more than he should. So yeah, I mean, it's a concern.
Jay, you had Marion Campbell when you came in. Obviously, after that, Buddy Ryan. Both defensive coaches. You're an offensive player, obviously. When you guys had a big call, what was the process? I mean, if Buddy wanted to do something and the coordinator didn't, obviously Buddy ruled.
Buddy made the call. It didn't matter if it was offense or defense. Man, he had coordinators that were scared to death and just said, "Randall, scramble."
Yeah, Jeff Fisher would
Give me
say,
a first
whatever
down."
you say.
Yeah, run. But it's, I don't know. It's, those guys were old-time football guys. And I think for people, my age who have watched the game for a lot of years, sees a coach like Sirianni and like the guy from Miami. And you see these guys that have come up through coaching, but also not through playing, or being in the game, and sometimes you're.
But with analytics, that's much more prevalent.
Well,
these
sometimes
days.
you see, the guy. You think of the guy that sat in front of the computer with his analytics or playing Madden, for a lifetime, to get good at it. And not that he did that, but you don't see them with a gut feeling because they never experienced it as a player.
I mean, I don't question Nick as a football guy. I mean, he was a good Division III player at Mount St. Union or at Mount Union. I just question, last year he was, Brian Johnson took the heat, got fired, but that was Nick's offense, and it was Nick's fault, and that's why they made the change. That's why now he's not calling the plays. I can't believe that this was his idea not to be the play caller. So he's adjusting, and it's going to take a while, and we'll see how it goes. I mean, because I have a great, tremendous amount of respect for Kellen Moore. I think if they leave him alone, if Nick, does give him the green light to basically, call 90% of the plays. I mean, Nick's going to be in on everything. He's going to be in on formation and game plan.
Yep.
He's going to be in on he's on the headset there. So I mean, nobody's saying he shouldn't have input, but you got to let Kellen Moore be the guy that pushes the button here.
All right, next week, Tampa Bay. Cowboys lose yesterday. They're 1-2. Eagles ahead in the division. Chance maybe to open it up a little bit. Cowboys and Giants play on Thursday night. Tampa got whacked by the Denver Broncos yesterday. Bo Nix played pretty well in their first win in Denver. Again, Jerry, you're talking about this is the new preseason. Teams doing stuff in week 3 that you thought week 2 gave you more of a clue, but it really doesn't. Damo, 24-7, Tampa coming in. We know what happened last year. We know they're 2-1. Throw it in the blender and tell me what you got.
Well, they're going to be without A.J. Brown again. They didn't have him last year in the playoffs. Don't have him this time. This time they also probably won't have Devontae Smith.
Right.
That's a big blow.
Or Lane Johnson.
We're going to be seeing a lot of 12 personnel with Dallas Goedert.
Explain what that is to everybody.
Well, that's 2 tight ends. That's 1 running back. 1 running back. 2.
Let's
two
run the
wide
ball.
receivers.
Yep.
Yeah,
run the ball.
You're going to see a lot of Saquon.
And they should. That's what's worked for them.
Tampa Bay did not. The Bucs did not play the run very well against the Bucs. I'm looking here. I got it somewhere, but 136 yards they gave up to the Broncos, and Bo Nix poked them pretty good too.
Yep.
So, their defense is beatable, and they're going to blitz. I mean, that's the key. It was the key last year. They came after Jalen, and it was very effective. We'll see. I think that was what they worked on all off season and summer. They seem to be better at picking up the blitz, but they will be without Lane, which obviously So it's going to be going to be a key for Fred Johnson to be have a good game. But if they can pick up the blitz, and if they give it to Saquon, this is a game they can win.
Well, Jerry, my college roommate at Penn was a guy named John McInerney, who was an all-Ivy offensive tackle, played a couple games in the CFL. We used to talk all the time, if it looked like the game plan was going to be running-centric against a team that looks like, with the receivers out, Jalen obviously with Goddard and everything, but this looks like a running-centric game. Barkley is their bread and butter right now. John just salivated. Offensive linemen love to run block. I won't say I hate the pass block, but how much were you a run blocking guy, especially as a center or guard? How much do you look forward to a potential game plan like this?
Well, you always like to run block more so because, for the most part, those guys were always playing. They have to play,
Well, you're acting and not reacting, right?
Run.
Yeah.
And, pass blocking is much more difficult to do, especially one-on-one. But, a healthy balance, would be great. But, maybe, with the run game coming, prevalent against Tampa, maybe we'll see some more motion, different formations that, they kind of talked about. I haven't seen a whole lot of motion in this offense yet, but, some of those things will help the running game go. But, if you're running the ball, then the RPO will be that much more effective. And if you have any play action in your arsenal, it'll be effective.
And motion.
And you'll get, if you can do that, and then you can sneak the tight end down the middle, for some big plays.
Tom, defensively, you look at Tampa Bay and look at them in the playoffs. You played Derek Carr and you played Kirk Cousins the last 2 weeks. Neither one is going to be confused with Michael Vick or Randall Cunningham. Baker Mayfield a little more mobile than those guys. They obviously got shredded in the playoffs. What do you think Vic Fangio's got up his sleeve this week?
Well, I mean, Baker's is mobile, but he's not a guy that's looking to run.
No.
He's not Lamar Jackson who's going to run around get 80 yards. And they're going to be they've got to shut down. I don't think they're terribly concerned about Tampa's run game, although they've got to make sure that you don't give them an opening early and let them take advantage of that. But they got to shut down the passing game. I mean, Baker kind of last year, went after them with his receivers, with
Godwin.
Yeah, Godwin and the other guy, the veteran.
Evans.
Yep, Mike Evans.
Yeah, and the tight ends. So, that's what the thing that gives me confidence about this defense this year. The addition of Quinyon Mitchell,
He's
really
good.
like. I mean,
he's really good.
I mean, he gives them a guy that's the game is not too big for him. He's out there. He can go face to face with anybody, man to man. And Darius Slay, if he could stay healthy.
It's interesting what you just said. Face to face, man to man. He's played 3 games in the NFL. Obviously a first round pick. You are a very respected guy who's covered this league for a long time. Not prone to making quick statements like that. I mean, is there a receiver in this league who you'd be afraid of Quinyon Mitchell taking man to man at this point?
His mentality, I don't think he's afraid of anyone. Now, what you got to be careful of if you're a guy is, because people are going to fool you. They're going to beat you until you get experience.
And he's got a short memory, which is good.
Right. So, and the thing is, you usually see guys like this have the play as confidently as he is from big schools who've played in front of big crowds while they were in college.
Toledo.
This guy's from Toledo. And yet he's got the mentality. He's got a Power 5 conference mentality.
He really does.
Yeah.
I mean, he plays well.
Did you play with any of those confident rookies who may have come out of nowhere and surprised everybody, Jerry? I mean, you were undrafted. You had a moxie to make the NFL. Where guys were drafted, then maybe started. Michael Haddock, I don't remember.
Haddock was he wasn't a
Mississippi State.
Yeah, he was no.
Where'd Clyde come from?
Clyde Simmons, yeah.
He was a small
Clyde and Seth, yeah.
Yeah, Clyde. Seth got cut initially, and he came back. Played, but a buddy saw something in Clyde, and put him on the other side and let him get after it.
But you see Clyde, for example. I don't remember whether Seth was 8 and Clyde was 9 or vice versa, but a 9th-round pick, let's say he was, comes in, shows he's going to make the team like Brock Purdy, something like that, and then after a couple games you think, why wasn't I can't imagine this team without this guy. What is it that Clyde had? Is there something, you talked about fear factor, short memory, is there something that most people, no matter what position you have, that can overcome odds like that have? Because you made it as an undrafted player as well.
I mean, you just have to, put it in your mind that you're not going to be denied. I mean, I just said that I am going to give it everything, and I'm not going to let them cut me based on my play. Now, they may cut me for something else or whatever, or they have
Did you rob a gas station or something?
Well, if they have too many people
okay.
or, whatever. But, Stan Walters told me when I got there, he said, you got 0 extra chances. I mean, you're not drafted. You can't make a mistake. Anybody drafted, they got chips, they make a mistake, they still can cash a chip and get another chance. You get no more chances. So, So I had that in the back of my mind, and I just played, hard, aggressive football.
Domo?
Yeah, I mean, you look at a guy. I'm doing a book on Sam Mills.
Oh, gosh.
Perfect guy.
Oh, yeah.
Went to the Cleveland Browns camp, outplayed every linebacker they had. Bill Cowher was there, says, you got this team made. And they cut him because he was 5'9". I mean, they made a decision no matter how well he played, he had that going against him, that they just didn't believe you could play with a 5'9" linebacker. Gets cut in Canada. Finally, the USFL becomes a life raft for him. And from there, he goes to the NFL and plays lights out and makes the Hall of Fame. I mean, so sometimes it's
Can't
just
judge a book by its cover.
Yeah,
right?
sometimes you need a break. I mean, sometimes something has to happen because the people that are making the decisions aren't infallible.
No.
They cut good people, which
Yep.
is why a lot of these people get picked up by somebody else and end up being a productive player somewhere else.
Another guy that the Eagles, it's not a high draft pick, Reed Blankenship, another huge play yesterday. Yeah. You need those kind of guys. We'll talk about those kind of guys, the Eagles, around the NFL. We'll take a look at what else is going on. 3 weeks down, as Gerry said, the preseason now over, time to rock and roll. Bill Belichick not talking about the Eagles' coaching job too much after today. He did a lot last week. We're back with the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff. Final segment with Gerry Feehery and Paul Domowitch right after this. Stay with us, folks.
Could you imagine?
Since 1991, the Great American Pub in Conshohocken has been offering an authentic and memorable experience for guests looking to dine in or enjoy the bar and nightlife. Located at 123 Fayette Street in Conshohocken, the Great American Pub has all your craft beer selections and some of the best food options anywhere. While you're there trying their buffalo chicken spring rolls or Maryland crab cakes, enjoy your favorite sporting events on their numerous televisions surrounding the bar. Visit them at 123 Fayette Street in Conshohocken or learn more online at thegreatamericanpub.com.
At Independence Blue Cross, we take care of the people who take care of you. Everyday heroes like firefighters, police officers, teachers, farmers, and healthcare workers. Doctors and hospitals across the region have IBX, and they know what it means to have reliable access to care. So whether you're saving lives or just trying to live a healthier life, count on IBX, the region's #1 health insurer for 85 years. Learn more at IBX.com.
A truly unique dining experience awaits you at Fogo de Chão. Fogo de Chão awes patrons with their history and tradition of authentic Brazilian steakhouse, offering many cuts of decadent fire-roasted meats prepared over an open fire and served tableside by trained gaucho chefs. Fogo de Chão, 1337 Chestnut Street in Center City, Philadelphia. For reservations, go to www.fogo.com or call 215-636-9700.
We now return to the Great American Pub in Conshohocken for the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show. Once again, here are your hosts, Paul Domowitch and Paul Jolovitz.
All righty, welcome back to the Great American Pub in Conshohocken. Again, Vaughn Hebron, our guest next week. Gerry Feehery, our guest this week, as we take a look now around the NFL with Mr. Domowitch and Mr. Feehery. Our Cowboys, our intrepid Cowboys. Jerry Jones, after the game yesterday, a little upset. They almost came back. They didn't against the Baltimore Ravens. But I want to ask you a question about not the Cowboys. Derrick Henry might be the most perfect free agent signing in the history of football for scheme, what the player does, if he's got gas left in the tank, and just beat down the Cowboys with an 0-2 football team. Again, the backs have been devalued in the NFL. We see it with Saquon. We see it with Derrick Henry. Domo, you first. I mean, how perfect is that marriage?
I was skeptical when they signed him because I wasn't sure what he had left. I mean, this he's not Earl Campbell, but he's taken some some punishment in his life.
Yep.
And then watching him run yesterday, I mean, he looked like a 22-year-old. They're just pushing people out of the way.
Running by him.
I mean, he's the question with him is we're seeing him now in week 3. Can he still be this kind of runner in week 18? We'll see.
What do you think of him, Jerry?
Well, yeah, I look at the Ravens, with Lamar. Give him 2 tight ends and Derrick Henry, and he'll beat the world. I mean, that's all he wants.
In the regular season.
Yeah.
Trouble in the playoffs.
True. But he'll get you there.
Yeah.
All right, guys, around the NFL also, Tampa Bay obviously got beat by Denver. Couple surprise 3-0 teams, Seattle and Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh looks, Domo, to me like they can't go back to Russell Wilson at this point. You can say you can't lose your job due to injury. My phrase would be you can lose your job due to injury if you're playing better than the other guy can be expected to play. It's unfortunate, but is there any way Russell Wilson gets his job back if Fields keeps playing like this?
I don't think so. I think Mike Tomlin will stay with Justin Fields.
Younger player.
Yeah. A bigger. Well, it's not going to happen anytime soon. But I mean, you talked about surprises. I mean, Minnesota. 3-0.
Sam Darnold.
Sam Darnold's thrown 8 touchdown passes. I mean, this is a guy that was given up for dead, a bust, and now, wow.
Is he Geno Smith 2024?
Yeah. I mean, I just right situation, right coach. Sometimes that's all it takes. I think Minnesota, New York. That's a town that can destroy a lot of
quarterbacks.
Young people that don't have the confidence and maturity to handle that. He's in Minnesota now with a coach that's building his confidence. This is his 3rd team, I think, because he was in Carolina.
Yep.
Right before. I think he's ready to play.
Fourth team, San
fourth
Francisco
team. I
too.
forgot about San Francisco.
Yeah.
So and he's throwing the ball to Justin Jefferson. So.
Life is about your fit sometimes. You might be somewhere where you stick out like a sore thumb, but if you fit the offense, the personnel, the coaching, whatever it is, you can be someone who nobody thought you were, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, as long as you perform in that spot that you're in. I mean, you may not be going in there with the brightest star or the dullest, fender, but as long as you go in there and do what they expect you to do, and that you'll get the job.
Yeah.
All right, one thing I noticed yesterday, I'm sure you guys did too, is the lack of lineman downfield penalties. Now, I think there are definitely there's lineman downfield in every game. Joe, you can speak to that. But it seems the point of emphasis calls seem to be dying down a little bit, whether it's true that people aren't doing it and they've gotten the word. But how do you feel about that, Tomo?
Well, I think what we're seeing is teams learning, adjusting, not only to the lineman downfield, which they started to make that a point of interest last year.
Yeah, illegal formations.
Yeah, and it happens mostly with teams that run a lot of RPOs like the Eagles. But the other one they were making a point of interest this year was the lining up off the ball.
Yep.
And, we've seen a ton of those calls. And, again, teams are starting to adjust because, I think that's one of the reasons Kansas City benched their tackle, because it was just like,
Jerry, do you ever have that happen? I mean, you start a season, they seem to be emphasizing one thing, and maybe the different way than you play, but you're a smart guy, you get it, and you play on. Did that ever happen with you?
Well, back in the day, it was as far as a center adjusting the ball. I mean, when I first started, you could.
Well, you had no shotgun, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we did shotgun.
Did you
but
really?
you basically would pick up. You could pick up the ball a little bit off the ground and adjust it. But after a while, a year or two, you start doing the same thing, and they'd be calling you for offsides. Or I remember I used to just, to try to draw teams offsides, you just adjust your hand on the ball like that, and they would say that was, influencing the snap count. So, they take, any little things that you might thought you were able to devise, they would, and lately too was the the offensive tackle kick step. I mean,
Yeah.
Lane Johnson, whether you want to say it or not, he's offsides every play. But
Well, that's one of Stoutland's. That kick step is what he teaches.
Well, if
them.
you understand what's called and what's not called.
No, it's a perfect
take
step.
advantage of it,
he just seems to get into it a little quicker than everybody else.
And they also were cracking down for a while there on because they didn't like the league didn't like the tush push, but they didn't want to outlaw it.
Exactly.
And they started calling. Offside, lining up offside.
Well, they were calling Kelsey.
For moving the ball.
Yeah.
Because Kelsey was a master at taking a half yard from on those plays.
All right, 3 weeks in, we're 20% of the year basically, almost. It's not like baseball. 3 weeks, and if you're 0-3, one out of the last 120 teams was 0-3. Houston in 2018 made it. Each of you guys, Gerry, you first. Give me one team that's either better than you thought or worse than you thought that's the biggest surprise in the league outside of the Eagles.
Oh my goodness! Well, it certainly isn't what's that team in Nashville?
Tennessee Titans.
It's certainly
With
not
the turnover machine. Will Levis.
Yeah, it's certainly not them. But I'd have to say the Steelers.
Yeah. What's Mike Tomlin doing, Damo? Whatever he's doing is working.
Yeah, I agree. Pittsburgh.
Hell of a defense.
I think, to me that's a team that's a lot better than I thought. Team that, I'm a big fan of Hard Knocks during the summer and watched Chicago this year. Thought they would be better, and maybe they will. It's a long season. I think Caleb Williams is going to be a good quarterback this year. He's got tremendous receivers, and I think they're going to be better as the season goes along. But right now, they're struggling more than I expected them.
DeAndre Swift. You're talking about Vinny Bombay. I thought DeAndre Swift would be very good this year.
Yeah.
Dead wrong about him in Chicago. Chicago seems to be the place where you just go to die as a football player. And I don't know what it is about the Windy City, the lake effect. What is it about that?
Give him time. It's early.
It's early, but it's getting early very late out there, as Yogi Bear would say. Gerry, 2 Monday night games tonight, 2 barn burner Monday night games with Jacksonville, Buffalo. Jacksonville's lost 180 straight. Is Doug Peterson possibly coaching for his job tonight?
I think so. That's a owner down there that has spent a lot of his own money, to do a lot of things down there.
Self-made, totally self-made.
And he wants to win, and he brought in a Super Bowl coach, and he thought that would get the job done, and it's not that he's finding out it's not that easy.
Second game, Damo, the NFC East. Obviously, the Eagles, the Commanders. Underdogs to the Bengals, who started 0-2. The Ravens whacked the Cowboys yesterday. You expect the Bengals to do the same thing at 0-2 to the Commanders?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I didn't expect them to be 0-2. They need to get their act together. I think we're going to see a big game out of Joe Burrow tonight.
Well, we will see. 2 Monday night games. Eagles play Sunday at 1 o'clock, one of the 5 1 o'clock games. Yesterday was the first. Many late games with the Eagles. They got a bye after this week. It'd be nice to go into the bye 3-1. We have enjoyed having Gerry Feehery here immeasurably. We love you, Gerry. You speak what's on your mind. You played well. And now you come into this field. You can do a show of your own someday. Thanks so much for being here.
No problem, guys. I enjoyed your company, Paul and Paul. Paul squared.
Paul squared. You were good.
It was good having you.
Damo, loved having you. We'll be back next week with Von Hebron.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Looking forward to spending another hour with you.
Thank you so much. We look forward to spending more with you. Nice crowd here at the Great American Pub in Conshohocken. Producers tonight, Chris Sermer and Brianne O'Neill. Great job at the station by Stephen Lawler. For the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff with Paul Domowitch and Gerry Feehery, I'm Paul Jolovitz saying have a great week, everybody, and go Eagles!
Go Birds.